Hey guys, it's Greg here.
Hey, it's John.
It's 2 o'clock in the morning. We just got back from Universal City Walk IMAX, and we watched Logan. The whole movie. It's what he does again. It's the same exact film all over again.
It's just X-Men Origins Part 2.
Origins.
X-Men Origins.
Mike's so on, isn't
Is
it?
the mic on?
Alright, so this is just going to be like a non-spoiler talk. We'll just cut right to the chase. Alright, we're not going to do some like, here's a rating system for you. Well, actually, no, this is a perfect time for me to use my rating system.
It's pretty good maybe a masterpiece, but definitely better than great.
I'm putting my rating system out there right away. This film is a pure masterpiece. There's only a couple of nitpicky things I could think of by the time the movie was done. That came down to two things that are really not a big deal whatsoever.
Well, the thing about there are things that you can pick out of this movie, and I know this is gonna sound like a cop-out, but it's a movie that does so many things well that like little construction errors I don't really care that much about, you know.
What I'll tell you guys, man, like this film was just. It was mesmerizing. Like, when we shoot reviews, we tend to like to think about it for a day or two so we could sound like really proper when we talk.
Yeah.
Most we can do is really communicate our feelings right now. This film had this strong level of like so many adjectives. Like despair, desolate, you said sparse.
Yeah, it's very stark and it's very hot and it's very deliberate, you know, in the way it's paced and the way it moves along, and it's very ruminatory and you know, some heavy shit.
It is one of the best. I think it's the best X-Men film. A, B. I think it's one of the best comic book movies I've ever seen.
Yeah,
because this felt like a film.
Yeah, as a comic book film.
Yeah,
I really think so.
It reached far beyond, way beyond, like just a comic book movie. This felt like an actual just. Goddamn good film the whole time.
Well, yeah, at least walking out of this is sort of like what I personally, just as a viewer, like have been hoping comic book movies could become for a long time. You know, and certain movies have done too. And it is like a comic book film, like you said. It is a Western and it is kind of sci-fi, but it's also really personal and really, you know, human in a lot of ways. And so, like, it is a full-on passion project, it feels like.
It's not exactly the kind of film where if you don't watch prior X-Men films, you're... Like, I feel like this is one of those films where you would have to have seen a few X-Men films in order to truly appreciate that. Yes, absolutely. That's, if anything, that's like probably its only weakness to it, is that you have to see prior installments. Besides that, though, this film... man, where to begin with it? I guess we'll start with, like, Hugh Jackman as Logan. This was, he always does an amazing job, even in like the shitty movies he does a good job. But in this film, like this is Oscar caliber, and I don't think it would get Oscar consideration or even Golden Globe consideration just because of the film it's in. He's done the role so many times. Who knows? But going off of like what this film does, like I described it to John as like, this film is him struggling for one more breath the entire time. It's when you think of like DiCaprio in The Revenant of a physical performance, this is a very physical, demanding role. Not beyond just being jacked. Like this is a very physically demanding role. Emotionally, you're just seeing Logan be stripped down to pure vulnerability.
Yeah, I mean he's just surviving this whole time, and same with Professor Xavier too. They're all just surviving in this really kind of, you know, you said kind of desolate situation. They're like holed up in this little fort and he's driving a limo. Yeah. And like, you know, they're saving up for something, but it just seems like a slog. And like you really feel the day in and day out of what Wolverine's life has become, you know, what Logan's life has become. It's
so interesting because it's a really character-driven film. That's the beauty behind it. Yeah. You walk out of this film not thinking Wolverine, but Logan. Yeah. And then when it says the title of Logan, we won't give it away, but it's such an interesting moment at the beginning of the film when it says Logan. Yeah. That you're like, this is I can see why they're not calling this Wolverine 3, because this is like old man Logan, you know?
Yeah, really. I mean, this just dives right into like his existential crisis of, you know, it's the furthest possible extent, and it's what does he have any more to live for. And so, like, it's cool to have an actor like Hugh Jackman who really seems like he cares about this character.
It never seems like a money grab.
Yeah, exactly. He seems like he's genuinely invested in this. And in this movie, that shines so brightly,
absolutely.
you know?
Yeah.
He's, you know, I mean, there's a lot of... It's not like slight on the dialogue or anything, but there is a lot of stuff that's just played in his face and his physicality, and there's a lot of different physicality he has to play in this movie.
We're used to like serious brooding Wolverine, and we know he's great at the dark depths, but it's those weird moments of light where you see a genuine smile come across his face.
Yeah.
Like, because he starts off, I won't give it away actually, but like the first time you see him crack a little smile when he's in the limo. He's driving those girls and something happens. But just even like that, where you're like, that is something he might smile at. Like, no matter how fucked up this whole situation he's in, that is something he'll smile at. Or that scene they show in the trailer where they're all at the dinner table. And like little touches like that. Like the times where the movie just takes time to slow down and give us some heart and meaning without being like shoving emotion in your face. It's so just natural.
There are times when he's allowed to slip into being a normal guy for a second. Yeah. And like, you know, usually something happens pretty soon after that. But like, you know, that's some of the most, you know, kind of poignant stuff about this movie is like those little moments of life, you know?
Yeah.
Because in this world, they're few and far between, you know, like...
And
that's where the Western element comes in here too, because like, you know, Xavier and Logan, they both don't belong here, and so they're just kind of drifting now.
Yeah.
And this, you know, this movie just gives it all a shot of purpose.
And Xavier, man, Patrick Stewart, a whole new level to fucking Charles Xavier than we've ever seen. He is not cool, calm, and collected Xavier in this movie.
Xavier anymore. And that was something that it did take me a few minutes to at least get acquainted with in this movie. Like, there is a sort of tonal bell curve that you do have to ride, because, you know, the way they talk to each other kind of off the bat in this movie is very different. You know? Like, they're both swearing at each other, and like the dialogue is different.
Well, it's like in this, their dynamics have changed.
Yeah.
Whereas Xavier is always watching after Logan and stuff, and it's this time it's like Logan's really watching after Xavier.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so it's such a different dynamic and such history felt. It makes for two of the it makes the other movies better.
You get the tension of their relationship, because especially like thinking back on it now, and you know, like I'm sure watching it again, like you see, like, you know, Logan's kind of a dick, but you see why all these relationships are so graded like they are, because he's the guy kind of holding this whole thing together, doing these kind of sad things every day, you know, like just to get by, like,
and just to keep people alive and keep them moving and stuff.
Yeah.
It's beyond, like, when the first, like, 20 minutes of this film, you realize, like, Logan ain't exactly, like, going on missions right now. He's just trying to, you know, make some money and get a fucking boat. Like,
which is a place that guy can go, and we've seen him go before.
Yeah, exactly. And X-23, Laura.
Oh.
Holy crap!
Dude.
I thought Hit Girl was my favorite little girl that can kill. This might be my new favorite one, man.
She's really genuine. Like she's great at it. I mean, like,
it's a body language performance for sure. Like most of the film, she doesn't speak.
That's a pretty sophisticated performance.
Yeah,
you know? Like props to her, because she's terrific.
And the rage felt real.
Yeah,
when she's like fucking up people, man. Holy shit! I was like, that seems like a really rageful little girl.
Yeah, like what? She's seeing some shit. To be able to act like children aren't supposed to be able to act this way. You know? And but it's captivating. Like, that's the thing, is like it's an ensemble piece just as much as it is anchored by Logan and like the performance of Patrick Stewart and the performance of I should remember her name, but the girl who plays Laura, like, they're all distinct and they all have, you know, gravitas. Yeah. And even the supporting characters, like that dude with the gold tooth, Stephen Merchant, dude.
Stephen Merchant killed it.
He's
when they said his name on the opening titles, I was like, Stephen Merchant's in this?
Yeah, I had no idea. And then when he first showed up, I was like, okay, is he gonna be like kind of a comedic character? And then
I thought it was like making him like what Vision was in Civil War. That's what I was getting the vibe of at first.
And then, but yeah, there's
just... But no, they go to depths with that guy. Yeah.
Like, that's the thing, is you learn what everybody's life... This is the thing that takes the time to learn what everyone's life is like now that more time has passed.
Yeah.
And, like, I loved that he was able to do that, because, I don't know, like, I always... Something, just a personal thing, is like, I always root for the comedy guy who, like, gets a role in something like this and gets a chance to shine dramatically. Yeah. Like, Simon Pegg has done that a bunch of times, where I'm like... You can fucking act too, and Steve Immersion did that for me here. Where I was,
he had more than just dialogue. It was body language too. A lot in the eyes, the facial expressions of this character.
Like, he really threw himself into this, and I'm like, props to you, man. That's a good performance.
Calibar,
yeah.
Calabar. Sorry, yeah. Calabar, and then you're talking about one of the villains.
Oh yeah, the guy with the gold tooth, like
the Winter Soldier.
Yeah, exactly. That dude, like, even he brought something to that character, because that's a character that's easy to make, like, completely forgettable. And while, like, you know, there are bigger fish than him at play, like, he was still like, this guy's...
Still hate him.
Yeah, I'm still like, you've got enough personality that I care to see you, you know, go down.
Because it's one of those films where everything, there's no, like, fish out of water scenario where you got someone being introduced to everything. It's one of those movies that throws you into this world. Yeah. What I love about it is, like, what is this, like 10th X-Men movie or something? Don't quote me on that. I think it's the 10th. But so there were so many X-Men movies, and none of them have made me feel immersed. Yeah. I've always thought these are entertaining, and sometimes that's a pretty damn good film. Like, sometimes I think that too. Yeah. But this was the first time where I would forget I'm in the theater. Yeah. Right. I would forget I'm watching a movie. Like, I'm noticing, like, my mood is just shifting, and I'm locked in to this world that's like toned down. It feels like a real world, you know?
Yeah. It really did. It did the same for me. Like, it really did pull me in to the point where I wasn't sitting there and, like, you know, picking things out or whatever. And, like, it what was I gonna say? What was the last thing you said?
About, like, the immersiveness. Oh, I got a point with that.
I didn't take it.
Remember your point when you remember it.
Yeah, it'll come back around.
All right, cool. My point, one of my things I love about it, like, we haven't mentioned it, because this film is so much more than just an R-rated X-Men movie. Yeah. The violence in it, it's fucking brutal. It's brutal. Flesh is tearing on people's faces. Like, it is nasty.
I think I might have expressed some concerns the first time we watched, like, a Red Band trailer for this, but, like, this did a great job of giving you everything you want out of an R-rated X-Men movie, but without making it silly. Like, it's... Yeah. They take a chance to show the realism across the board.
Because at first, when you start hearing a bunch of F-bombs early in the movie, I thought it was a little thrown off. That was the only time in the movie where I was like, it feels like they're trying to shove the R rating in my face right now. Yeah. But I quickly lost sight of that. Well, it's just a different world at this point.
And for me, it's like, I wonder how that will play the second time now that I'm used to them talking that way. Because it's not how we've ever heard them talk to each other.
Out of a PG-13 driven franchise, it's kind of surprising,
And even when he shows up and says, like, go fuck yourself, like, in a way, to me at least, that almost calls more attention to the fact that they don't usually swear. Yeah. It's like, oh, it's a special occasion. Yeah. So to hear them swearing all the time is like, you gotta kind of get used to it. But that's, you know, like, this movie has so many great details and great things wrapped inside of it, because it is, like, people keep saying Western, and I do think that's a good description, because
it's very apparent that it wants to be, that it is a futuristic kind of Western.
But it has, like, it really does, even more than in just the tone, just like the way you have a bunch of characters all pointed at each other, and each one is a straight line intended to go through the other. Like, everyone's got a will, everybody needs something. And, you know, it's very much a tracking movie. It's like they're on the road, they're on the run, you know, it's immediate.
Yeah, definitely. And with the violence as well, though, like, it was more than just, you know, like when you watch Deadpool and you're like, oh, cool, we're getting an R-rated comic book movie, yay, and they're swearing, and it's, but with here, the violence is, for sure, it's entertaining. At the same time, though, equally, like, cringy at times, because it's like, ugh.
Well, because the thing is, like, the way the violence comes into this movie, the way the action scenes come up, it's like they do come at when the plot needs them to, like when the story needs them to, so you get the catharsis along with the, oh shit, cool, you know, so it's like you really feel the release that you would, you know.
They have a scene where they like play like a clip from Shane because they're watching it from the TV, and it's a great resemblance towards like I think of like there's a movie I saw years ago. It's a Clint Eastwood movie, Unforgiven. And there's a character in there who's a cowboy, and he just wants to be a badass cowboy, and he kills someone, and then he's haunted by the violent moment, like he's not what he thought killing would be.
Yeah.
And this movie portrays the violence in a way where it's a major dramatic effect. It's not like anyone's really like in despair like when they kill someone, but there's times where there's times where it's you can tell it enhances the world and the experience and the suspense. Like when violence is coming, you're like at first it's like, oh, this is cool, but then when later scenes are coming and there's violence, it's kind of like it puts you a little bit more on edge.
Yeah. I mean, well, because it is that thing, and it's so wonderful to me anyway that it makes that choice to dig into it, because it is like this is about people who accept that the violence is a part of their world.
Yeah.
And they are good at it.
Yeah.
But they don't like it, you know, like it's that existential crisis of like, I don't want to kill anybody, but I have to keep living. What does that do to somebody? And we find that out, and we find that out both in an old man and in a child, you know, and that's what makes that, you know, him and X-23, like that relationship, that arc is fucking great.
Perfectly,
like,
beautifully told.
Yeah.
Their entire couple weeks or whatever they spend together in this movie is beautifully told, because it's like, you know, especially if you read the comics, you know who X-23 essentially is, but as the film plays out, it's never done in a way where it's ham-fisted. It's never done in a way that feels cliche, or like you can kind of see the direction of where it's going to go, but by the time it gets there, it feels natural, organic, exactly how Wolverine would respond to this whole thing, you know?
Yeah.
It's all like they just knew Logan so well. This movie never felt like it was conforming to something that the studios were like, you gotta fit this in here.
Yeah, it really seemed like they got to make
the movie they wanted to make. It kind of feels like it's an independent, huge budget film in a way.
Yeah, and a friend of mine once pointed this out to me. He said, like, you know, like James Mangold, like he basically said, like, I like his movies, but I don't really have like there's not a touchstone that makes them distinct to me, you know, like like they're pretty good, but they're not. He doesn't have like a stamp that makes it his. And this was the first time where I was like, this dude's laying down style.
Yeah.
Because there are a lot of different styles, there are a lot of different visual tones and visual styles, and it uses, you know, the sound and the images to make you, to really pull feelings out. There are these scenes that involve Professor Xavier having these like seizures, and those are so jarring in the way that they shoot them. They're like hard to look at, and they're shrill, and like it really goes that extra mile to make you feel the things that these characters
I actually heard about the seizure scenes in an interview, and they said that the cameraman would really shake the camera.
Yeah, I believe.
And and then for some of the moments they would be pulling Hugh Jackman, like they had something attached to them where they'd be pulling, so you have to fight against it.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
See, that's like that's
fine.
really
You gotta
cool.
watch it to see what we're talking about. But yeah.
But yeah, like when this got done, I was like, yeah, man, like I feel like you directed the shit out of this.
Yeah.
Like you really made a movie that you wanted to make, and it's got your personality on it.
Yeah.
You know, like mad respect for that.
Tonight was a great night at the movies.
Yeah.
If you're not doing anything this weekend, or if you are, cancel it. Find time to watch Logan. If you can go to a legit IMAX screening, like that was part of the beauty of it, was like it wasn't shot with IMAX cameras, but it was so worth it. And it's not even because it's like flashy visual. It's because there's some great visuals in there, but you really just walk away thinking of the experience you went on.
Yeah.
More than just it looked cool and there was cool action and Wolverine's funny at times. Like
yeah, there's the comedy you want, there's the cool fights, there's the added shit gore factor, there's like
sniffles through the roof in this theater.
Yeah.
Man, yeah. I got to the point where I was like looking around like everyone's crying. I saw John cry for the first time in 10 years today.
Yeah, I cried a couple times. The third time I cried for real.
Yeah, I saw. You had like legit tears.
Now. Yeah.
And then when the credits were rolling, you had this like little smile on your face.
Yeah, no, this movie made me happy. Yeah. And like that's the thing, is like it's a hard movie, but it made me feel happy inside when a movie can do that, because it tells so many awesome little arcs. and it has such a tone and such a, love for its source material while not taking itself like crazy seriously. And there were certain things that, surprised me. Like certain things happen that are just sad that drive the point home where you're like, yeah,
Yeah, totally.
And something appeals to me too about movies like this, about dudes who just like fucking give everything for like something they need to see through. Like I always, when somebody can really pull that arc off, like it makes me feel warm inside. So.
I'm really glad that last year I said this is the movie I was looking forward to most in 2017 because it totally paid off.
I'm so happy for them. Like awesome, cool, like well done.
Yeah. What a perfect. It's been very much announced all over the board that this is his last movie, and what a way to go out. I'm really happy that this was like the final movie. Yeah, because that was. It's an experience.
It's got heart and soul and all the cool shit you want to. Like
it's like I kind of don't want to watch it again for a while.
Yeah.
Because you can't beat that first time.
And it's also
that's how great the first time is. Sorry to cut you off there, but that is kind of like it's kind of like when I watched I don't know, fucking. It's like I saw Avengers pretty close to each other. It's not the same thing as Avengers.
Because it's different. And that was the thing. That they do acknowledge the comic books in this movie. And that was a touch that made me very happy because...
weirdly makes it feel more like a real world.
And that's the thing is like I feel like the whole point, and it's it's nice that we can kind of talk about this with a movie now, is like this movie takes the superhero movie and goes, oh God, what have we done? And that's it uses that responsibility really, really well.
Yeah. Dude, okay, you guys gotta go watch this movie. It's like, I know you've heard everyone say how amazing it is, and you listen to them.
There's a lot of love in
this film is, I consider, like, while you can find a few flaws here or there, they're very minor. They don't last long ever. When I say they don't last long, I mean they're very brief moments that I can like go, well, there was something kind of off about this one little 5 seconds I saw, but other than that,
I mean, there's continuity sometimes, or there were one or two scenes where I was like, I thought that scene felt like it wanted to go on longer, and then it would cut away or something like that, but.
Perhaps.
Yeah, I don't know. I think they succeed on so many levels, and the thing is, like, it's for me, like, it's hard to get excited nowadays, and I worry a lot for these big expensive movies because it's a lot of money on the line, and and a lot of expectations on the line and stuff like that, and it's nice when, like, I sat down in the chair before this and I was like, you know what, I'm just excited to be here, and like to be able to admit that sometimes it's hard because like. We see stuff that's kind of a letdown here and there all the time. And it was nice to walk out and be like, yeah, that completely satisfied what I was hoping it could be.
Dude, I had extremely high expectations for this movie.
Yeah.
I'm not going to sugarcoat that. I had very high expectations, and it surpassed them.
Yeah.
That is a rare occasion in my life.
Like, it would be really sad if this wasn't a special movie. And while I was watching it, I was like, this feels like a special movie. Like, good for them. It's a pretty great, it's a masterpiece.
It's a masterpiece.
Definitely better than excellent.
I think it's a masterpiece for sure.
I think it's a really well done movie.
I mean, if you want to like nitpick it or anyway, fine. But if you want to just break it down in terms of a fucking comic book movie, this is a masterpiece. If you're gonna just compare it to the genre, I would say it's a comic book masterpiece for sure. I really think it's up there with like The Dark Knight. I really do.
Definitely.
Like, without a doubt. It's not like they're the same movie at all, but I think it's up there in terms of its rawness and feeling just like a film and not a comic book movie.
Yeah, this movie is what it needs to be, and it's responsible with all the things that it has, and it shows you that the genre can be wider, and it can give you all the stuff that you want, but also give you things that are gonna maybe make you cry a little bit, like that's the most exciting thing to me about this kind of movie is like I'll gladly show up for fucking Wolverine if it's gonna
emotions.
If it's gonna throw down.
I cheered at the end. As much as I do reactions, I'm a rather quiet movie watcher. Like when I watch movies, I tend to I'll laugh along. but I rarely just feel the need to go, yeah,
right.
Like I cheered out, like in the finale at one point. Like I was just like, what's going on to me, man? It's exciting.
Yeah. What was the moment? There was one moment like you laughed really hard at. Do you remember what that was? There was something that we laughed at for like a couple cycles of laughter.
I don't remember. There's a few funny moments.
Yeah.
I don't think this film's like filled with humor, but it takes its time to have humor like every 10 to 15 minutes.
Yeah.
Like, oh, we got a little joke here. Yeah.
Well, yeah, there's a lot of subtle stuff
too.
Like, there's a lot of interplay and stuff. Like, you really get the sense that these people are together all the time.
Yeah. It's just, I love characters of people just trying to keep their shit together.
Yeah, exactly.
And I love those kind of. I feel like Scorsese films have characters like that all the time, of people just trying to keep their shit together, and that's like what Hugh Jackman's doing this whole movie.
Yeah,
just trying to keep everything together, you know.
Well, he does a good job of it.
All right, well, we'll finally wrap this up. Subscribe to The Real Rejects. This will be a short, non-spoiler review, but how can you? That's my problem with some YouTube reviews. I'm like, how can you really tell someone what this is like in like a few minutes? Like, no, I want to express my emotion here. This was a very worthwhile film.
Yeah, I think so. I think definitely. You know, it's gonna give you, even if it's not your jam, because it's not always like, you know, it's not always my jam. Like, this is the one I would tell you, if you're not in love with the idea, just still go see this, because this is cinema.
Its only drawback is that you have to have seen some other X-Men films. Like, whereas opposed to The Dark Knight, I don't feel like you necessarily need to see Batman Begins. I think it makes The Dark Knight better if you see Batman Begins. But I think The Dark Knight's a great standalone film. Logan... Actually, you know what? I feel like now you need to know a little bit about like, mutants and shit.
The thing is, like, it could still be a compelling movie in that Western kind of way where, like...
I think it would make you want to watch the other X-Men films. I think it would certainly do that.
Yeah, it's like these aren't unlike characters you would meet in certain situations in, you know, an older Western. You know, it still introduces you to what Logan's life is like now and the situations he gets into and what, you know, Charles's life is like. Like, it jumps you back into all that stuff in a natural way, and it doesn't pull too many events without any kind of identifying context. So, like, I think you could still definitely enjoy it, but it'll always be more special if you've seen them all. Because, like, the thing is, for this is, like, we love Wolverine, or a lot of people do. And we've watched this guy in good movies and not so good movies, and one really not good movie, and, you know, a couple better movies, and so, like, we've come a long way. And so, like, it's possible... It'll always be different if you're watching it with the love of Wolverine or just as a film.
True.
But I think it works both ways, which is perfect.
All right, well, subscribe to The Real Rejects. John is Reasons to Jerry on Twitter and Instagram.
Right.
He's a social media manager at Blumhouse and The Real Rejects. And shout out to Tony Gill, who's been standing in this hot corner.
TGI Fridays over here.
27 minutes over here.
Chillin'. Hashtag chillin'.
There's only one thing I forgot to do in this whole review. Ready, John? Hey, bub. He doesn't call anyone bub in this movie.
I know, does he? He doesn't at all.
He doesn't call anyone bub, and he never shouts Gene.
He never shouts Gene. They don't even mention Gene.